Hey all, Rob here. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when future videos are out. And as the title of this post says, is that in the Silver Age, Franklin Foggy Nelson, as you know him as a supporting character in the Daredevil comic book, he was an unlikable character. And let me explain. Don't forget, you can find all of the Silver Age, the Prime Marvel stuff, the 1960s era, and which is what I'm talking about here. You could find it in the Omnibus and the Epic Collection books, where you could really get an affordable reading and color copies of these classic stories. And of course, you had, when Stan would write, he would have those romance angles where, for example, the hero likes the girl, doesn't want to reveal his identity to her. She likes the civilian him. Really, she might like the hero, she might not. You know, the guy in the costume. She doesn't know the guys in the costume. She doesn't know who he really is. He likes her, but he can't admit it. And she likes him, but she doesn't know. So she doesn't admit it. She's waiting for him to make the first move, and he doesn't. And, you know, that's how, like, these romance angles played out. Or there was a third person in it. For example, in Iron Man, it wasn't bad. You had Iron Man, Tony Stark was the playboy. And then in the original issues, he didn't have Pepper Potts or Happy Hogan. And so he was just solo. He was dating various women. But no woman was a mainstay in the book. No woman, like, appeared again to really matter. It was mostly one-off. And then you got Virginia Pepper Potts. Okay? She was the mainstay, and then Happy Hogan. Pepper was the secretary, and Hogan was the chauffeur. And just like a handyman type role. Except, here's the difference, which I'll talk about, between Daredevil and Happy Hogan. The Pepper Potts liked Tony Stark. But Tony Stark didn't want to admit his problems to her and that he's Iron Man, so he never thought it could work out. And even though he wanted to be with Pepper, he could never outright say it. And then she's getting like, well, does this guy like her or not? She doesn't know, because Pepper wants Tony Stark to like her romantically, but he's not, and she's wondering why. And all the way as this goes on, the Happy Hogan character likes Pepper and wants her to like him. Except why this worked out is the Happy Hogan character and the relationship, the way they would talk with Pepper, it was all in a comedic tone. It was all lighthearted. It wasn't serious. You could tell Pepper never liked Hogan, and she liked Tony Stark. And the Hogan character was basically a fool. He played the comedy character to have a laugh at in the book. You didn't take him seriously, and this is the key. Like I said, you did not take him seriously. And so, even though there was this romance triangle going on, it was very lighthearted. It was very, the Hogan character was comedic. You didn't feel offended by this character in the book. Other characters in this Marvel Age, such as Spider-Man with Betty Brant, with Gwen Stacy or Mary Jane, these women were not really dating anyone else to any degree so that there would be a real rival. Eventually, Betty was dating Ned Leeds, or it kind of was going that way. But then when John Romita took over the art books, the Betty character got quickly, she like disappeared, and she was not used again for many years. And Jane Foster never really had in Thor, she never really had another man. And the same goes for the Silver Surfer, Shalabal. She never had another man. The Silver Surfer's relationship is a little different than the other heroes, because the Silver Surfer, Norrin Radd, liked her, and she liked him, so they were already a dating couple, which most of these other Marvel heroes didn't have back then. And the same thing with Betty Ross, with Bruce Banner, the Hulk. She wanted to get close to him, and they were friends, they were kind of dating, but he couldn't reveal his Hulk secret, and that was just the obstacle that they couldn't deal with, and that prevented them from connecting. But this is where I'm going with this, as some romance examples, is when I'm reading and finish the Daredevil Omnibus, Volume 1, the first issue of Daredevil, and onward to about issue 40. And this is between the original artists. You got Bill Everett, you got Joe Orlando, you got Wally Wood, you got John Romita, and then you got the Gene Colan, who finally became the main artist, and he made the book solid and reliable. The Foggy Nelson character, he changed visually a lot. The different artists really changed the look of the character. Most characters, the civilians, they kind of look the same depending on the artist. You could see it's the same character. But if you go through the different artists in the Daredevil Omnibus, this does not look like the same person at all. From when you get from the first issue to the Gene Colan issues, this is a different character. Visually, I mean, really. It looks like a total different stranger. Doesn't look like the same character. And it was under Gene that Karen Page became very glamorous. You want to talk about like how Mary Jane was drawn, or how Gwen was drawn by Romita. You check out Karen Page. She's just as glamorous. So you had this triangle, and that triangle was Murdoch liked Karen Page, but because of his disability, he could never think that a woman like her would like him. And he could never reveal his secret to her about his extrasensory powers and that he's Daredevil. And so that was why he couldn't ask her out. Meanwhile, she didn't care about his disability and wanted to date and be with him, but he would never make the first move, and she always felt like it was a cold approach, that this guy never approached her, and she was dreaming that he would approach her. And then you had his partner, Foggy Nelson. He doesn't look as good physically. He's not in shape. He really likes Karen Page and wants to date her. And Karen Page has zero interest romantically in Foggy Nelson. None. But the difference, and this is what I'm talking about, Foggy Nelson being unlikable. When you read these first 40 or so issues, and the different artists, and it's mostly Stan writing it, you look at the Foggy Nelson dialogue. He is pissed off at Murdoch. He knows Karen wants to date him. He wishes like Murdoch was out of the way. He doesn't want him in the picture. He wants Karen to himself, that if this guy Murdoch is gone, he can have a chance with Karen. Nelson character is not comedic. Read those Daredevil issues. He's not a comedy character. He's not a Happy Hogan character where you're in on the joke. No, he's serious, okay? I mean, this is, you look at most of the issues where it's like, oh, you didn't want me to get the job. Oh, you didn't want me to get promoted. He is very against his partner. Supposed to be his best friend. But when it comes to romance and trying to get Karen, he doesn't like his partner. And again, you read this, because you could... It's different because back then it was monthly, but you read this in a volume, in a serial volume where you get to read issue after issue. And this theme, Foggy Nelson, is an unlikable character. I would say in the Silver Age of Marvel, compared to other supporting characters of the main hero in a comic book, I would say Foggy Nelson is one of the most unlikable characters who's a civilian in the supporting role of a comic book. And I'll go on the record on that. It's like, how many more people who are in a supporting role, civilian, not hero, not villain, non-costume, and and they're buddies with the main hero, how many of them are as unlikable as Foggy Nelson? And the difference, like I said, Happy Hogan, it was lighthearted, you didn't take it serious, it was played for comedy. But the Foggy Nelson stuff was played as serious. He wasn't joking around, and you could tell his dialogue that it wasn't a joke, and it wasn't a comedy or meant to get you that way. And so that's the point of the video I want to make, that in terms of a supporting character in a book who's a civilian, Franklin Foggy Nelson is probably one of the most unlikable characters in terms of being in a hero book in the Silver Age of Marvel. And it's different now, of course, through the decades. But I'm talking about then, those first key years of that Silver Age. He was not likable. He wasn't a good friend. He just wasn't good. And the thing is, he had a hopeless quest anyway, because Karen Page never liked him, and Nelson wasn't even a second thought, really. So that's my review. That's my topic. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't. Stay safe, my friends, and I will talk to you later.